more than that, my desire is to challenge you with something that I'm billing as a spiritual toughness challenge, because I love God with all of my heart. And I know so many Christians, people that say they love God, but they don't live in that way. They haven't made God the center of their life or their priority. And so I have made prayer and fasting and reading the Bible and study the spiritual disciplines of the Christian life, I've made them my practice throughout my life. In my last video, I shared how I had created the Warrior 40 challenge after doing the 75 hard, and I want to invite you to do it with me. I want to share the components of this challenge, how they differ a little bit from the 75 hard. I love the 75 hard. It kicked my butt. But more than just doing a mental toughness challenge, I wanted to create a spiritual toughness challenge. And so this is what I want to share today. But before I share the 5 daily components and the 2 weekly ones that I've designed this with, I want to share a few things. And that is, first, why am I even qualified to talk about this or challenge you to do some sort of spiritual toughness program? Second, I had talked about some verses in the Bible that have challenged me around fitness. What does God think about fitness? What does the Bible say about fitness? And so, first, why am I qualified? If you've watched any of my videos, you may know a little bit about my story, but I'll do this just in brief quickly. I started this channel 2.5 years ago. I walked out my front door. It was the day after Christmas. I think it took a week to upload the video. But it was about as raw, unedited as a video could possibly be. So humbling, but I think the video was 1.5 minutes long. I made a public commitment to show up and do a mini habit. The fact was, I was at an all-time high for weight. I had put on about 50 pounds over the last 10 years at being married. After having 2 kids, we'd started 3 different businesses, gone through 2 different fires, moved across country. The stress just had added up, and I had not taken care of myself. And it was humbling because I had not been overweight most of my life. I used to be an athlete. I had spent years focused on fitness, taking joy in my body. I used to lead epic wilderness trips. I used to be in adventure tourism and outdoor education, wilderness therapy fields. I've taught people how to do rock climbing and mountaineering and backpacking and rappelling, camping and paddling. I've done many adventures. I think the longest ones I've been on, I've done multiple 46-day trips. I had a background with that. And after getting married, one of the business I was working on was a speaking and consulting business. It was put on the back burner after we had kids. And so in recent years, I've been wanting to work on doing more speaking, more consulting, and I realized that because I had not been able to lose this weight, I'd struggled the last number of years, trying, failing, and just was really frustrated and realized that because of my weight, being 50 pounds overweight, I was playing it small. I was self-sabotaging. I, in some ways, had disqualified myself. If you've heard any of my videos, you know one of my life messages, I feel like, is that your biggest problem is your greatest opportunity. I had to take my own medicine. And if this problem really was my opportunity, then maybe this was the very reason I should start doing videos publicly. So that's what I did. I had been studying not only habits, but specifically mini habits. And what I decided to do was commit to a mini habit. It was almost ridiculous. And that's actually the definition of the mini habit that I went with, was that a mini habit, by its essence, the idea is that you build off wins to succeed in life. Failures don't bring success. By starting with something so ridiculously small that you can't fail on your worst days, and building and using that momentum, you can create absolutely massive life transformation. And so that's what I did. I started doing that. I didn't just want to lose weight. I didn't want that goal to be the only thing that was measurable. I wanted to get stronger, build my strength. I wanted to build my cardio and endurance. I wanted to take more joy in my body. And I wanted to lose weight. For the last couple of years, I was sharing my journey publicly, along with some other encouragement. I didn't make a lot of progress in the area of losing weight for quite a while. This spring, I've had probably the most results, in part probably more than anything actually from my husband's help and changes he's helped me to do, which I'll have to do another video. I feel qualified because I've been here in this space doing this publicly. So I hope you'll be inspired by this Warrior 40 challenge. But if you are not ready for this yet, that you could do what I did and just step back and go, how do I make this doable? How do I make this scalable? What do you need to do to make this scalable so you could do it in 6 months, a year, or 2 years from now when your life is radically changed? And what I've done in the last 2 years is awesome. I mean, I'm so proud. On the first video, I detail my commitment to myself. That mini habit that was so ridiculously small, it was almost embarrassing, which was to basically lace up my shoes and walk out my front door. And from that, I started walking. I started walking almost every day. I started walking a mile, 2 miles, 4 miles. Within a few weeks, maybe a month, I joined the gym with my kids. We started going regularly about 3 times a week, and I started doing HIIT classes pretty consistently. 2 or 3 months after that, I learned how to play pickleball, and I started playing pickleball. For at least an entire year, 3 days a week, I was doing HIIT classes, and 3 days a week, I was playing pickleball and walking often, many of those same days. The second year, I joined a CrossFit gym. I started doing CrossFit classes a couple times a week. That was amazing. This spring, I did the 75 hard. I've started to really lose weight and have lost about 12 pounds now. My husband's been really influential with that, and I'll share some of what he's been helping me do in another video. But suffice it to say, I'm doing this publicly. I have a background in coaching and challenging people to do epic, amazing things, so much more than they ever thought possible. I have, in my own life, done things I never thought I could do. The number of mountains I've climbed, the conditions I've done it in, carrying packs that, I mean, are just off the hook, heavy and enduring, and living in the mountains for weeks on end. You know, just mind-blowing adventures and incomprehensible feats I would never have imagined years ago. And so I bring that to the table to encourage and challenge you through this process. Not only do I love the physical feats and accomplishing great things in the physical realm, but I love the mental dynamic. I loved the fact that the 75 hard is billed as a mental toughness challenge because I'm somebody that has gone after wisdom and has been hungry for knowledge and understanding since I was very young. And I have probably read 4,000 to 5,000 books is my best estimate in my life. I've consumed as many thousand hours from audiobooks and conference sessions and podcasts and sermons to even lectures. And so I'm overflowing with the information and wisdom that I've gathered through the years in order to endure the things that I've had to endure as an entrepreneur and in all the situations that we've been in. But more than that, my desire is to challenge you with something that I'm billing as a spiritual toughness challenge because I love God with all of my heart. And I know so many Christians, people that say they love God, but they don't live that way. They haven't made God the center of their life or their priority. And so I have made prayer and fasting and reading the Bible and study the spiritual disciplines of the Christian life. I've made them my practice throughout my life. I just love the idea of challenging people with a spiritual toughness challenge, because I've been challenged by people through the years that were more mature than me spiritually. When I watch and see what they've done to grow their spirit, their inner spirit, I realize most Christians are very weak. They're just babies in their spirit. The Bible talks about how when we are born again, when you start to grow as a Christian, you're really just a baby. And a lot of Christians never grow past that stage in their spirit. They've been a Christian for 20 years, but they are just still a 1-year-old Christian 20 times over. I've walked with God since I was little, probably 6 years old, and I can tell that story later. I had a miraculous healing when God touched me when I was 6 and changed my life. I should have been dead. that was the moment I encountered God. I knew God knew my name, cared for me, and the course of my life was altered. I've wanted to grow, and I've gotten around people that were growing and believers that challenged me to discipline myself through many of the Christian disciplines that I'm going to get into and are part of the Warrior 40 that I've created. I think it's important to know that the Bible talks about being fit, that being slothful and lazy and fat and gluttonous is the standard. That's not held up, but that's what a lot of Christians are. And I've been for years as well. I'm guilty of it. And this is me just going, I need to up my game in all areas. I need to be taking care of my body, soul, and spirit, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it publicly and invite you into this process. One of my favorite verses talks about how we worship God, and in Him we live, move, and have our being. As humans, we were made to function, to move. We were not created to be fat and lazy. We were not created to be incapable of taking on challenges. We were created to run, jump, leap, and dance, and we were created to swim and sail, and there's all of these adventures, much less walk. Jesus walked everywhere, and on a travel day when He was traveling to another city, in the ancient world, an average day traveling was 20 to 25 miles walking, which is basically a marathon nowadays. We live in a time in history, at least in the Western world, in modern America, we just live the most sedentary lives. Technology is not helping us with our health. It's costing us because we've become so sedentary and don't move. Romans 12:1 says, present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to the Lord. How we live is our sacrifice to God. Another one is that in Philippians 1:20, it says, Christ will be honored in my body, whether by life or by death. How are we honoring God with our body is huge. All right, without further ado, I'm going to share what the 5 daily challenges are and the 2 weekly challenges are. I'm going to try to go into a little bit more detail about why I picked these components, and I think they're so profound, more in later videos. So first off, I challenge you to pray 30 minutes a day. That sounds like a lot, and we can go into that a little bit later, how I have done that through the years and how you can make that a part of your life. If that sounds overwhelming and crazy, I will say this: if you're a Christian, we're called to be people of prayer. Jesus says in the Bible, not if you give or if you fast or if you pray. He says when you give, when you fast, when you pray. So if you're a Christian, you're supposed to be a person of prayer and making that a part of your lifestyle. And so kind of like going to the gym, I think you need to make it a regular part of your life. So that's the first one. The second is to read the Bible 3 chapters a day. Now, I totally think listening to the Bible in some fashion counts, as long as you are consuming 3 chapters a day. 3 is the magic number, 3 chapters, because if you listen to or read just over 3 chapters a day, you can read the entire Bible in a year. Number 3, a structured diet. It doesn't matter what the structure of that diet is, but as long as it is in alignment with your long-term goals, it counts. So whether that's keto or carnivore or vegetarian or vegan, pick a structured diet and stick with it, because structure helps. It's a game changer when you have a plan for something, because then you're planning for success. Failure happens naturally without a plan. So a structured diet includes drinking half a gallon of water. Those components definitely are inspired by the 75 Hard and Andy Frisella, but I think half a gallon is a little more manageable for most people, and I'd rather you be doing and committing to something that is scalable. Number 4, 2 30-minute exercises a day, one of them being outside. Getting outside is a game changer every day. I love that. I love that about the 75 Hard. Two 45-minute exercises for most people is not something they're going to do for the rest of their life. They might have done it for the 75 hard, but it's not something that they can do on a regular basis. Committing to 1 hour of exercise for the rest of your life, 1 hour a day in some fashion, as simple as walking, is life-changing. And so that is something I'll go into more detail, but I think is really valuable, because the whole point of this challenge is not to just get you to do this for 40 days. This is to hopefully equip you with a strategy to live for the rest of your life in a way that is scalable for your life. So finally, the last thing is sleep. My challenge to you is to get 8 hours of sleep every night and to commit to getting up at the same time every day, even on weekends. So I'll come back to this later, but one of the parts about sleep, there's some interesting studies of how much sleep people are getting now versus historically. That's crazy. Those are the 5 daily challenges. We've got 30 minutes of prayer, listening to 3 chapters of the Bible every day, committing to a structured diet and half a gallon of water, 2 30-minute exercises every day, one of them being outside, and committing to sleeping 8 hours a day, resting and getting up at the same time. There's something structured and rhythmical about doing that. So lastly, the 2 weekly components. My challenge to you is to fast for 1 day a week and to rest and honor God 1 day a week. They can be any days. I'll do a video shortly or coming after about how I'm planning to set myself up for success doing these. Now, with my 5 and 2, I'm going to put one little bonus option, which is to encourage someone somewhere, somehow, each day. Give someone hope, because there is so many studies about our well-being in life comes through the connections that we make with other people. And when you're looking to help someone else and you're looking to give, there is a huge blessing that I can never understate. And so I'm throwing that as a bonus option, but that is something I'm going to be committing to doing in addition every day. I also will be talking in the next video about when I am going to be starting, how you can join me. If you'd like to join with other people doing this, I'm going to be creating a community group where you can do that and share your progress. So more details on the next video. I really hope that you'll join me, and I hope that you'll share this with anyone else you know that would love to grow and increase their physical and mental and spiritual fitness. So I'll talk with you later. Thanks so much for joining me. It was a pleasure.